Hi, my name is Meek Wise. I'm a C&E specialist with Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. This is our Learn to Hunt series. Today we've got Lance here. He's going to talk about some controlled hunts. So I'll kick it over to you and let you introduce yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Meek. Thanks for inviting me. I'm really glad to get to come on the podcast. Yeah, I'm Lance Meek. I'm the education supervisor here for the Oklahoma Department of Wildlife Conservation. I've worked here for over 20 years, nearly 25 at this point, and have been in my present role as the education supervisor for about a year.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
You're my boss.
That's right. That's right. I'm proud of all the people in education.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah.
So, what made you want to pursue a career in wildlife?
You know, just like a lot of us, Meek, I grew up with my dad and grandfather and good family friends. You know, when I grew up in Broken Bow, and it was not just a rite of passage, but just you just almost couldn't show your face in school if you didn't go to deer camp that year.
Yeah.
You know, if you're in third grade and your dad's not letting you go to deer camp and maybe carry a gun every now and then, it just didn't matter. And you know, at that time, my dad worked for Weyerhaeuser down there and at one of their lumber plants, and he was the safety guy there. And I think that carried over into his hunting life, and he was always real particular about, you know, the direction I pointed my muzzle and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I was already passionate about conservation and wanted to work for the wildlife department, and luckily the hunter education coordinator job came open that you're doing now. And it was just a wonderful fit. And I left a job I'd been at for 7 or 8 years, and it was really a stressful thing. But man, this is just a wonderful place to work.
Heck yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It's the best job in the world.
Yes.
I'm not going to lie.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about some controlled hunts today. So
Love it.
Let's kick that off. So let's start with the easy one. What are controlled hunts and how does it work?
Okay, yeah. So controlled hunts are the wildlife department every year, and most states do this. The wildlife department every year opens up certain hunts on our public land from our wildlife management areas. There are some federal properties on there, and it basically gives our constituents an additional hunting opportunity. So you would go and a lot of people call it a draw hunt,
Mm-hmm.
because that's basically kind of what it is. You kind of put your name in. It's a little more complicated than putting it at a hat these days, but you just put your name in and hope to get drawn.
Yep. Have you ever put in for them?
Oh, I do every year religiously. I've done it for the last 25 years.
Oh, you draw much?
I draw probably every 2 or 3 years.
Yeah,
I'll draw, and I do a party. I go with a party, so we have pretty good odds. Yeah,
yeah, that's what we do. I got me and a couple buddies that put in every year, and that's the same deal. We draw every couple of years, but we put in for some hunts that I think other people maybe aren't putting in for, but because we mostly archery hunt, so
that helps.
It does help a lot.
Yeah.
So
especially if you avoid McAllister, probably, huh?
No, that's one we put in for a lot.
Okay.
And honestly, the first 5 or 6 years that I put in, that was the only thing I put in for.
Okay.
And if you put in for 5 weekends, the odds of getting drawn are pretty good.
Okay. Good. I've never put in for it.
Because I think I hunted it 4 out of 5 years. I think that I put in.
Pretty good.
But yeah. So when does registration open for those hunts?
It opens the 1st of April. And now that's every year, unless it falls on like a weekend, like a Saturday or Sunday, and they'll usually adjust it a little bit. And then it goes, same caveat, but it goes until May 20th. That's the deadline. And Meek, let me say, and don't be the guy that I find myself being about every 3rd year and being like it's 11:30 and you're on the deadline and you're putting your stuff in. 2 or 3 years ago, I did that, and I can't remember what it was. Either my internet messed up at home or something, and I didn't get it done. And, you know, when you put in for a group, they're like, hey, Lance, how's that controlled hunt thing going? Pretty awkward. So, yeah, get in there early. Have it done. Not have to worry about it.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
We already kind of touched on it a little bit, but why do we do controlled hunts? Why is that a thing?
A couple of reasons. It's a good wildlife management tool for our WMA managers. It allows them to be more specific than just just opening up for rifle or archery season or something
Mm-hmm.
like that. And for our constituents, it provides them, additional opportunity, get to go check out a different area, hunt a different area.
So what would be different, say a draw hunt on Okmulgee WMA versus me just going and hunting Okmulgee WMA?
Well, I'm not.
And that's just a for instance.
Okay, yeah, thank you, because I'm not exactly familiar with what all's open. But certain wildlife management areas are not open to rifle, for example. Okay. Yeah, and so you get a chance, like you're one of, I don't know, if you're out at Beaver, like there's 4 hunts out there, or whatever, 4 draw hunts out there. So you get to be one of a very small group of people that get to hunt that area with a rifle that year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but say archery and stuff like that.
Yeah. So it's kind of there's a little bit of exclusivity to it.
Yeah.
Us as a department are really trying to set you up for success for those.
Yeah, it's neat. It's exclusive, but the only the only cost of entry to get into that exclusivity is put in.
Yeah.
So it's available to all of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, how much is it to put in?
Well, it costs it's a $10 application fee, and you can actually, so there's 7 categories.
Mm-hmm.
And basically it's all deer, turkey, for our controlled hunts, and large game, antelope and elk. And then that breaks down into other categories. But get me going again. What was your original question?
No, I was asking like what the price and
the price. Yeah. So it's $10. But my point is in each one of those categories, you can actually buy an extra preference point for $10. And speaking of preference points, you ever have a year where like when the hunt's gonna, like elk's a good one, because man, you want to build up those preference points. Elk and antelope, you want to build up those preference points. But sometimes you'll have a year where like, man, it's kind of going to be messy for me. Like, I don't know, got a baby due or something when the hunts are going to roll around. You can actually just, for $10, you can purchase a preference point and not put in for the hunt. And then if you do put in for the hunt, you can actually purchase an extra preference point, like specifically for elk, but then if you wanted to do one for antelope, you'd need to go and purchase a preference point for that one too.
Yeah. Because all the hunts are done, the way you submit for them, everything's done separately, right? By species?
Yes, by species. Yeah. So you can, of those 7 categories, one of them's youth and one of them's non-ambulatory. So you could put in for those, but yeah, you can put into all of those categories.
Yeah. So yeah, when you're putting in for deer, that stuff's not bleeding over into the elk or the antelope.
Yeah. And you might as well throw the McGee Creek turkey hunt in there.
Yep.
Yep. So, yeah.
Yep. Matter of fact, me and a couple buddies, we just started putting in for the turkey hunts too.
Been putting in for years.
Have you?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it.
That's what I've heard. I've heard a lot of good things about it. If you can get it drawn, that those are some good hunts.
Yeah.
What are some of the opportunities that are available for those controlled hunts? I know we've danced around it a little bit, but we haven't really dove into it.
Yeah. I mean, just almost every WMA across the state, most WMA across the state's going to have some opportunities, but the big ones, you hear people talking a lot about the deer hunts, and there's a variety anywhere from muzzleloader to rifle to archery, but and then the turkey hunt that we talked about. The big ones are the antelope and the elk. Yeah, everyone watching this probably knows that it's the antelope and the elk, and those are once in a lifetime.
Yep.
So they're pretty coveted, and it's a good thing they're once in a lifetime, because I mean everybody puts in for them.
Yes.
So speaking of that preference point, I would say if you're not even, you just have an inkling that you might want to go elk hunting here in Oklahoma at some point, start putting in for that thing.
Yeah, because there's a good chance odds are it's going to be a couple years before you get drawn.
Odds are. Yeah.
It's one of those deals you're banking on the future.
Yes. You hear about the flukes of someone that put in 2 years and got drawn, but that's, it's just odds.
I was one of those.
You were one of those.
Yeah. Me and a buddy of mine put in, and we drew the walk-in only. The first year they did the walk-in only hunts.
Nice.
Me and a buddy of mine drew that out, which was a lot of fun. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be.
Yes.
That's some pretty rough terrain down there. And I think over, what is that, 5-day hunt? I think in 5 days I covered 40 miles.
Wow.
Ruined a good pair of boots.
Wow.
Blew them out. The laces broke. The soles started to separate. But got to see some cool stuff. My buddy actually harvested an elk,
Nice.
shot a nice bull.
Nice.
I had a couple of pretty good stocks that just didn't. I mean, it's hunting.
Yeah.
It didn't work out for me, but
Yeah.
but yeah, we drew that out, and that was so cool. So if even if, like you said, if you just think you might want to do that, start putting in for it.
Yeah, start putting in,
and that's a super unique opportunity too.
Super unique. And Paige, I got to tell you, can I tell you about my personal experience with that elk hunt?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was one of the people. I'm going to talk later about how you really need to double check your application.
Mm-hmm.
I had been putting in for bull elk for years, and 2 years ago, I accidentally put in for a cow. I drew. Of course. But I had point guard, and I made the decision, at this time I was 52, and my age keeps going up instead of creeping down. So I thought, you know what, I'm going to take this opportunity. I'm going to go ahead and take that hunt. And I got to say, man, it was the best hunt I've ever been on. Just from the standpoint of how the hunt was. And it's awesome. I got to do the draw in too, take a friend in, and man, it's so great to have somebody to talk to and bonding with your friend, but it's also another set of eyes, another person to haul that thing out when you get it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I had kind of the same experience, Paik. I got myself in the best shape I'd been in 4 or 5 years. I still wasn't in near good enough shape. And I kept thinking, okay, I'm going to have to carry this thing out of here. Well, by the time you've walked, 7 to 11 miles a day, carrying it out's not hard. You need to prepare for those 2 half days and 3 full days of walking around that WMA.
Yeah.
So
Stairmaster will be your friend.
Yes, Stairmaster. Yeah, don't walk flat ground and think you're going to be ready. And even the flat ground out there is hard to walk.
Yeah,
it's rocky and stuff. So, but I'm telling you, I wondered if I would regret not putting in for a bull, and I don't regret it, or not holding out for the bull. I don't regret it one bit. That was a hunt of a lifetime. I felt like I was in, some Western big game state.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's what is so cool about that hunt, is just how unique that hunt is. I mean, you get to hunt in essentially and you're hunting in the Wichita Mountains.
Yes.
In a desert-y-ish environment, like a Western environment, but it's in Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Which a lot of people, and you're hunting elk.
Yes.
Like that is not something that a lot of people, I guess, would even think about.
Yes.
They don't think about mountains, Western topography, and elk in the state of Oklahoma, and yet there it is.
Yes, and it's to my knowledge, it's the only place that you can really have that Western experience where you get to glass them. And, hey, okay, they're going here. We need to get over here in front of them. Yeah.
Yep.
So great time.
So that kind of leads me into my next question. What level of participation have you had? Obviously, you've drawn out for the elk hunt.
Yeah.
What if, as far as deer hunts and all that?
Yeah, I put in for that turkey always. Of course, I haven't drawn, but yeah, I mean, about every 2 or 3 years, my group will draw out. We've been to Cookson, Atoka. I think, man, we had the best luck at Atoka. I think 3 out of 4 of us got a deer down there. And there's a group of 4 of us, and we've never been to a single hunt that somebody didn't harvest. Yeah. And it's, man, I gotta say, it's just having that group is so fun. On my group, it's not people I see just, every 2 or 3 weeks. That's just kind of, we get together around hunting season, usually do something, and then hopefully we get that and we all go on a trip together, and it's just a great time to get to be with your friends.
Have you got to participate in any professionally, like as on the
No, I don't know. I need to come from the other side sometime.
Yeah,
like go help people haul their deer out or something.
Like
maybe not that. Maybe not that. Drink coffee while people are. Yeah.
There we go. Get the easy part of that.
Yeah.
So you talked about some of the places you hunted. What was your favorite place you hunted? As far as the draw hunts?
It was Wichita Mountains, I will say, but Cookson was a lot of fun too. And something else. We were at Cookson. I didn't harvest anything. My friend did, but we were there, and I saw so many squirrels. Like, oh my gosh! And like, hey, well, maybe we should come back this spring and shoot some squirrels. And it's a nice way to be able to scout out some other areas. And I got it. Speaking of Cookston, just a general. the first day I sat there. We got to scout ahead of time, and the first day I sat there, and I'm I'm right next to a place where if I shoot a deer over here, it's going to run right down here, and it's going to be nearly impossible to retrieve. Well, what I just sat there and I had a chance to shoot at a deer, and I'm like, it looks like it's going to run right down that hill. Why didn't I get up? Yeah. Why didn't I go hunt somewhere else? Because half of the deer I see, I'm not going to be able to shoot. So,
yeah. I think another thing, when you do these controlled hunts, those deer do not count as part of your bag limit.
That's right. And yeah, now with the $2 limit, you could actually find yourself getting 3. And now that's something to pay attention to too, is some of them are either sex, some are antlerless only.
Yeah.
Some make you, I think there's a couple that you have to harvest an antlerless before you can harvest.
Yeah, I know for a fact there's a couple that it's antlerless harvest, then you can harvest an antler deer.
Yes. Yep.
But yeah, the other thing is something that I've kind of what you're talking about, where I almost screwed up, is some places have multiple hunts.
Yes.
So I know, like, if we mentioned it earlier, I used to put in for McAllister, the traditional archery hunt. They have, I think, 5 or 6 different weekends, and ordering those weekends in the order that you want to hopefully draw is something you got to pay attention to. Because I've done that before, where, like, talk to my buddies, we come together and say, hey, this is our favorite weekend that we'd like to hunt, and then order it from there. And then you accidentally pick the wrong weekend. And then after the 3rd or 4th time I've reviewed it before I submitted, I'm like, oh, got it.
Oh, you caught it.
I did catch it.
Oh, very nice.
I did catch it.
Very nice.
But again, too, there's other hunts where you said some you could have on a you could put in for a WMA, and that maybe one weekend is antlerless only, one weekend maybe antlered only.
Correct.
So that's just something to pay attention to.
Yeah.
Is making sure you're looking at exactly what it is you can harvest, when that weekend is, and all that.
Yes. So. Yep. Don't accidentally pick a non-ambulatory and stuff like that. And I can tell you this because I've made most of these mistakes. So
hey, mistakes are just learning opportunities.
That's right.
Is there any hunts that are specific for, like, I know you mentioned it a little bit, youth and the non-ambulatory?
Yeah, we do actually have there's the non-ambulatory where you need a motor vehicle permit to hunt from your motor vehicle, or a non-ambulatory permit. They're actually different permits. They do about the same thing, real close. But there's also, yes, there is a youth category within our controlled hunts. And then there's also within our controlled hunts, it's a separate youth category called private lands youth hunts. And that's, well, I've said earlier, they're on public land. Well, these obviously aren't. There were landowners who are in some of our programs let people come onto their property to harvest deer to help manage their herd. And then also, this isn't a part of our controlled hunts just because of the timing of it. We also have a youth waterfowl hunt opportunity. And now that's usually on public stuff, but you actually get that's a guided hunt. So it's the youth deer, the private lands youth deer too. So that's a guided hunt, and you usually go with a department employee, which is really neat. Give you a chance to, a young person, a chance to hang out with a department employee. Those don't open until they closed November 3rd last year. So probably open in early October. And I'll tell you, those are just sadly underapplied for. There's your odds of drawing on either that private land deer or that youth waterfowl hunt are really high. You just need to put in.
So on those youth hunts, do you have any personal experience with those?
Yes, my son. Now, not the private land youth hunt, but my son drew out for the hunt out at Fort Reno. And that was you did need to harvest an antlerless before you harvested a antlered. And we had a button buck.
Oh.
And I didn't let him shoot it. Probably should have. Who knows? But man, that was another thing, man. Hunting is. I think there's a common theme you've heard me say is friends and family, and man, that was such a great experience with my son, and man, we spent some time, me and that young man out there hanging. He was a boy at the time, not a young man, hanging out in that blind and watching deer and seeing deer. And I don't know if you know this, but there are monkeys at Fort Reno.
What?
Yeah, there's monkeys. There's a research facility over there with monkey, or there were during our controlled hunt. And the first morning when it's the sun's getting ready to come up and you hear a monkey, it's pretty surprising. Yeah, so that's something my son and I always have.
I did not know that.
Yeah, and they make odd noises.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen those kids' toys that you kind of fling them and they make this kind of crazy monkey sound. That's exactly what they sound like.
I couldn't imagine sitting on a food plot looking for a deer and you start hearing monkeys.
Yeah,
Much less if you saw one. If you saw one, that would be wild.
yes, and you got to understand, you don't immediately think that was a monkey.
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
not,
You're like, I don't know what that was.
Yeah.
That's a sound I've never heard in the woods before. That you'd never expect to hear in Oklahoma.
Yes, exactly.
So where can people go to find out more information about the controlled hunts?
Oh, well, the same place they go to find out all kinds of hunting and fishing related information. Our website, wildlifedepartment.com. Honestly, Pake, the easiest way is I just use the search bar and I would type in controlled hunts and it'll tell you all kinds of information like how to improve your odds, the hunt categories, how to apply, all that kind of stuff.
Heck yeah, I'm glad we have that kind of resource for people. So
Yeah, it's handy. And I mean, I just, speaking of that website, there's so much information on that thing. So whether you're looking for a place to hunt or a place to fish or more information about a hunter education course, stuff like that, wildlifedepartment.com, one stop, man.
is there any other opportunities out there?
Yes, there are. Kind of around the same time we do controlled hunts, we've typically done a raffle. And this year, the first year ever, our foundation, we have a Oklahoma Wildlife Conservation Foundation that is a fundraising arm for us. And all the money they raise comes back to the agency. And the really neat thing about that is that those are donations. And then we get to take that money, and I don't want to go too deep into federal aid, but
Yeah.
it exists. It's a license. It's a tax on firearms, ammunition, fishing equipment, things like that we can apply for and get that money to do conservation here on the ground. That's a big pot of money managed by the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service. So we can actually use that money. Say let's say we make $100 off of raffles. Well, we can take that money, and that is our state match for $300 that we can get from that federal aid money. So it's really useful for that. But there's some really neat raffles on there. You can go on a turkey hunt with our director this year. There's always some neat outdoor gear, four-wheelers, stuff like that. There's nearly always a good elk hunt on there. So yeah, it's a really neat deal, and it does cost money, but that money goes to our foundation, and then it comes directly back to our agency to do good conservation work or print a hunter ed manual,
Yeah.
and keep people safe and things like
Yeah,
that.
to help clean up and manage WMAs. I mean,
Yeah.
there's all kinds of stuff that goes into
Yeah. Keep the roads. Yeah. Gravel on the roads, all that stuff. Yeah.
that. Well, awesome. I think we've covered pretty much everything we need to cover today.
Yeah.
Do you want to wrap us up with your favorite hunting story?
Yeah. Can I tell you, you gave me a little preview, and I cannot figure out what my favorite hunting story is. Can I tell you what my favorite thing about hunting is instead?
Yeah, that'll work.
Okay. My favorite thing about hunting is it's all of the things that surround hunting. Going to deer camp.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was raised on deer camp. Playing in the fire, whittling boats, eating as many Snickers as you wanted, Dad didn't care. And of those, being with my son and my dad and my friends, of those moments surrounding hunting, my very favorite is walking into your stand on a nice, cool, crisp morning, stars just shining like diamonds, and getting settled and just watching the world wake up.
Yep.
Just listening and hearing the world wake up. Birds. It's and that's something that you miss out on if you don't hunt.
Yep.
There are some things you see and some things you hear: bobcats, coyotes, deer frolicking or chasing each other, trying to get bred, stuff like that. Man, there's just no other way I mean, who's going to go out and just sit in the woods?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Walk out in the dark and sit there.
Yeah. You're just not going to do it. But yeah, with a rifle in your hand, I've had some of the just greatest nature experiences in my life sitting there in a blind with my rifle.
It's funny you mentioned that because my absolute favorite moment, singular moment outside of harvest.
Yeah.
My singular favorite moment in the morning is at gray light.
Oh yeah.
That is, it doesn't last very long, but
Yeah.
there is a point in the morning where it's just light enough that you can see, but everything's in black and white.
Yes.
It is wild. And it lasts for just a couple minutes. And then as the sun gets up, you start seeing colors now.
Yeah.
But that gray light that happens that is my absolute favorite time in the morning.
I've never heard it called that, but that's cool. I'm going to start paying attention.
It's so cool. If you start paying attention, you'll notice right as it starts to get light, you can start seeing stuff, but everything's in black and white. There is no color.
Nice.
And you'll see it in the timber a lot more than you'll see it like on a field edge. But
gotcha.
But yeah. So
and then we're all just waiting that next hour for the sun to finally get up over that hill.
Yep.
And you can get that warm up.
Yeah, and if you're me, you accidentally set your stand facing the east, so you're gonna wait for it to get a little higher so you can actually start seeing stuff too. But hey, I appreciate you coming on and talking to us about controlled hunts today.
You bet.
So
yeah, Pake, just if I can, in conclusion, it's $10 you ought to be putting in. I love the extra opportunity, and again, I love getting a chance to go and have my hunt group and hang out with my friends, hunt a new area, go to dinner in a toka, see what that's all about, stuff like that. So yeah, we everybody should put in for them.
So yeah, you heard him. Go put in for those hunts this year. But thanks for hanging out with us today. Like and subscribe if you want some more. We got some more episodes you can go check out. So appreciate you hanging out. Thanks.